Hey gang, this is Zealot Naga here, the executor of Paragon Tagma Alliance, with a video cast about ancillary shield boosters that were added in a recent Inferno patch and how they're going to change PvP. Before I get started, I have to probably explain what's wrong with my eye. Um, I was sparring a Kung Fu expert on Sunday who was 100 pounds heavier than I was, and we just had a friendly match, and I hit my face when I was taking him down to the floor, and yeah, so it doesn't hurt as much as badly as it looks. It was some real life PvP action there, and we had a great time. Love sparring, so sometimes I get stuff like that. I think I have some on my arm too, a few bruises. Good times. He had some bruises too, so it was good times. Anyway, so ancillary shield boosters. What are they good for? They are going to change PvP and for the better in many ways. Shield tanking has always been problematic because it's so capacitor intensive compared to the armor modules. And with the addition of ancillary shield booster, all kinds of new exciting combinations for PvP are possible, and new applications of some ships that didn't play so well before. And you guys saw the Alliance tournament, you watched it. Majority of the ships in the Alliance tournament were Minmatar with ancillary shield booster. That showed how powerful that module is. And in the Alliance tournament, it was nerfed because you were allowed only one ancillary shield booster, and outside of the tournament you can fit two, which makes it even stronger. So what's the big deal about it? Ancillary shield booster allows you to get close to 1,000 points of active DPS tank that's capacitor independent, especially on ships like Drake and Cyclone. But it also works on smaller ships that do speed or signature radius tanking. For example, on frigates like Merlin can tank very well with an ancillary shield booster, or like a speed frig of some sort, even like a Rifter. Even though it's not nearly as good of a tank because it doesn't eat any capacitor, it allows the Rifter to tank the drones and stay close to the target and tackle much better than they used to do before. This is going to change the face of EVE PvP, and I think we need to start learning how to use this module for new strategies, and possibly develop a scholarship based on this one module. It has drawbacks. After about 45 seconds it runs out of boosters, and obviously has to recharge, which takes an entire minute, and during that minute most likely you will die unless you have two boosters, but then you have to stagger them, and of course they don't have nearly you have to sacrifice a mid-mod for it, so it reduces the effectiveness of both, and they take up a lot of CPU and grid. So dual booster fit ships are not as good because they lose DPS and weapon power, but you can still make them work. So in which situations are they really good? On Minmatar ships, Tech 2 ones especially, because Tech 2 Minmatar ships have really good natural resistances. So ancillary shield booster is incredibly powerful on those ships. Almost overpowered. So Jaguar, Sleipnir, Vagabond should be pretty good with it. Although I haven't tried it with a Vaga yet. How do you use it? Obviously we're starting to fly in larger fleets, so does this really apply to us? It does. First of all, putting configurations of ships that capitalize on ancillary shield boosters is a really good way to start a fight. Usually when we fight with pirates especially, they have a smaller gang, or they have one guy at the front that's a forward with some logistics that are backing that whole setup. Well, normally our tacklers don't survive long enough if we engage that fleet for the entire fleet to get there, and the pirates just run because they can't put up with our fleet. So however, having ancillary shield boosted ships gives you the possibility to survive a lot longer, even if you have only one module fit, by for example kiting. If you have a tackle team of say 3 ships, and it can be like 2 Drakes and a Merlin, whatever is getting attacked can kite away from the primary target while the rest of them can hold it down, and by then gaining the distance can repair without leaving the field and come back in. So things like that. In real life application, so a fleet is undocking, about to engage the enemy. The ancillary shield boosters, forward scouts, are really, really excellent because they can put up so much tank and they can anchor the enemy down. So the way we'll try to implement this is by sending a group of ships, or we could implement this way, a group of ships with ancillary boosters forward to start a fight with the enemy, expecting to lose some of those ships because obviously their tank is not good enough to tank an entire small gang or even a 2 or 3 gang ships, but giving time for the rest of the people to catch up, because it's also difficult for the enemy to gauge how quickly they can take down an ancillary boosted ship. And this is really important. There's a psychological aspect to this module that's so important. When I fight duels, a lot of times I prefer active tank, and I usually fly in duels active armor tank. And the reason why is because I know very well from experience how much damage I'm able to take. And when I fight a person, I usually let them take me into structure, and I play with them. They think they're just about to kill me, and I repair it just enough so that it goes down back to low armor, 5-10%, and then climbs back up. I know that I can tank them, meanwhile I'm killing them. And they stay close to me and they stay in the fight because they think that any minute now my tank will break. But I'm in full control, they just don't know about it. With ancillary shield boosters, you can do the same thing in several different ways. If you have 2, you can turn only 1 on to make the enemy think that your tank is breaking, and then you kick in the second one. Or you can turn none on and let him chew through your shields and your armor and then start pulsing the shields. Why would you do that? To keep them in the fight. This allows the commander to reposition the fleet, for logistics to get on grid, for ECM to catch up, whatever it is that gives you the leg up. So basically, it's a great way to psychologically torture the enemy into thinking that they're about to kill you. And even if you know that your tank will be overwhelmed, still, if you expect you will survive for at least 30 seconds, it's worth doing the active tanking this way. Why? Because 30 seconds and on 2 ancillary boosters is close to 1000 DPS tank. 800 depending what you do with overheating and things like that. Times 30, that's almost as much HP as if you had shield extenders in those slots instead of shield boosters. That's why it's so good. So on ships like Rock, it can work excellently because Rock dies slowly. So even if you can't continuously boost with one booster, just the fact that you will boost it for one full 45 seconds will give you more EHP as if you had a shield extender in that slot. That's the thing to consider. On larger fleets, it doesn't work as great, obviously, but again, we're talking here about how to start a fight than to win it. Secondly, of course, is solo fighting or solo tackling when you don't have a tackling team, when there's just one person tackling. That's very good. And also tackling nano targets, which are hard to catch otherwise. An ancillary shield booster on a rapier makes it even more deadly than it used to be before. A rapier usually has about 25k EHP, which a nano cane or a Talos can break quite easily before the fleet gets there. So a rapier pilot has to be super careful to stay outside of the scram range and to control the range, not to get in too close, to manage the DPS and be kind of afraid. And of course, in this scenario, it will often miss the target. But with an ancillary shield booster, a rapier can be more careless. It can get up close because it will tank very well. It will tank and it can control the speed of the ship it's tackling. It can take a tight orbit, turn micro-orb drive off, and take damage much better than it would at previously 12-15 kilometer range like it normally would. So those are 3 aspects, in tackling, in baiting, in starting fights, and in solo hunting. I guess 4 different applications. Try those things. Try them on the frigates and on battlecruiser hulls. I think they will be the best. And on a Rock, Mimitar ships, battleships, possibly in certain situations. So yeah, practice those things and let me know what we can get. Last time I did a video on low sec roaming in the cruisers, and people went out and tried it. So this is the same thing, just to encourage you guys to experiment a little bit and just look outside of the traditional fittings. All right, peace out.